Bamboo forest. As a pretext, I like to say I hate being on the brink of believing a story or feeling it is false when reading encounters on here. So if you have any questions at all or see any inconsistencies, let me know and I will try to clarify it. Starting off, I just like to say this happened 2 to 3 years ago when I was still a young preteen, so my memory of it isn't the best. Just outside of my neighborhood, there is a street leading 2 ways, one which was regularly traveled to get to my school, and the other that led to an intersection with a CVS, which was most often used to get into downtown San Antonio. Past the CVS, there was a Korean school which looked more like a house with a school sign, and an actual campus that I believe was a middle school. However, I did not go to this school. Across the street from the Korean school, there was an oddly placed house that nobody ever saw someone leave or enter. And even odder, enshrouded in bamboo. Very tall, dense bamboo forest. Well, me and my brother, being weird preteens, were nearly infatuated with bamboo sticks as they were portrayed in movies and in cartoons. So we'd always collect the dead sticks that had fallen from the forest into the sidewalk. One day, the pickings on the sidewalk were just broken sticks, so me and my brother did something that was honestly stupid. We walked into the slim entrance between the forest and to the house. Around the house was trash cluttered all around, and if I recall correctly, 2 broken vehicles that looked like they were being fixed for a while. We knocked on the door, heard some barking, and were about to leave after a minute when an elderly, sweet-looking lady came out. Me and my brother did not expect this, and we were trying our best to explain how we wanted to go into the forest and pick ourselves out some bamboo sticks to use for fighting, almost like picking out a Christmas tree. She actually obliged, but I think told us she didn't want us to go in alone because there were bees and wasps inside there, and it was quite easy to get lost. So she excused us for a moment while she went inside and got her shoes on. When she came back out, she offered to give us a tour of the house as it sat on quite a big chunk of again oddly placed land, surrounded by urban buildings. She took us around the back, and I believe there was some odd machine. I can't exactly recall what it was, but it did something useless and was made from makeshift parts. She explained the previous owner was an inventor. She gave us some background information on him, and then told us about his son who apparently committed suicide in the bathtub inside the house. We went to the very back where there was an old shack that looked as if it was being used for storage some ages ago, but it was now blanketed with tall yellow grasses. I honestly got a little bit spooked out at this point, and I felt as if someone was going to ambush us from somewhere while she was giving us this tour. Thankfully, nobody did. She finally took us to the forest after passing by the broken down cars. Most of it was just what it was made out to be, a literal forest of bamboo. I recall her telling us that all the bamboo were connected to a single bamboo that was first planted, and that was how the forest was made. Whether or not this information is true, I do not know. But I found it interesting that she knew so much about it, as she told us the previous owner, the inventor, had placed the forest. There was an odd trail leading directly to the middle of the forest, and in the middle was a chair, a table, and a typewriter. Sadly, me and my brother could not go there, as she told us that was where all the bees had their hive. And she was not wrong. There were a lot of bees surrounding the typewriter. She did, however, give us a little story about how the inventor would just go there and type something up. We eventually walked out into a part of the forest in the front of the house, and she helped us pick out 2 sticks and told us how to excavate them from the ground. Something unrelated that only made the situation weirder was when she told us that, at one point, that she saw a dead body beside her property. I think by some storage lockers that were next to her house, but nobody believed her. We both got spooked from that point and ended up trying to leave, but not before she gave us slips, saying she wanted us to come back and work for her during the summertime. I feel as if she had something sinister planned. I honestly don't know what But something seemed off about her. I think the story is more circled around the whole mystery of the area, you know? But I hope you guys still enjoy, and maybe you can help me out with some theories. If any of you happen to live in the area, that house is probably still there and not hard to miss because of its misplacement. Again, I will answer any questions. Stalker in the forest? My girlfriend lives in the forest. There are a few houses near hers, and it isn't particularly isolated. But she is on a couple acres. There's a creek surrounding the property on both sides, on the two sides of it. A simple chicken wire fence on the other sides, and a long ungated gravel drive. I visit her at night about once a week. She lives with her dad, and I can't really see her otherwise. Yes, it is risky and stupid, but she's worth it. Anyways, there is a little makeshift parking lot just a bit down the road from her house, where my friend drops me off and I wait until her dad goes to bed. There's a hiking trail right near there that the parking lot is for, and just off, it is an old railroad station that is unused except for maintenance when the tour train season comes around. Now this thing is essentially nothing but a covered cement area with a bench and a beat-up recliner someone left there, but it is a lot more comfortable than standing around on the side of the road. I wait up there if things are taking too awfully long, or if I have to get dropped off real early. So, about 3 weeks ago, I was at that station thing, screwing around with my phone, waiting for the signal, and I hear somewhat heavy footsteps approaching. No big, probably some homeless guy or night hiker. Now, I am not a small man, good 6'1", 240 and decently muscled, and not exactly fear-stricken by footsteps. They pass behind the back and only wall of the place. Stop, and it sounds like the guy leans against the wall. I call out, say something about being bored or wanting to talk or something like that, and the footsteps start up again, going in the other direction. Keep in mind, it is pitch dark except for the moon and the stars, and all I've got is a phone screen to light my way. I go around back, don't see anyone. Whatever. Last week, while walking from the parking lot to her house, now I have no way of knowing for sure, but it sounded like the same heavy footsteps and rustling sounds, pretty distant, start up behind me. There's deer and stuff around here, and I don't immediately make the connection to shit, there's a person behind me. But after a second or two, I get that being watched feeling, and turn around just as car headlights come into view. About 30 yards behind me, there is a rather large person's shape on the other side of the road, illuminated by the headlights. My first thought is, fuck, it's her dad, and I froze. Bad move. I almost immediately realize I'm an idiot and start walking again, but my night vision is shot by the headlights, and I'm half blind when the car passes. I hear the guy cross the street, and I pick up the pace to a quick jog. Not sure what to think at this point, but a bit freaked out. I get to her place and get inside, and from the window I see another car pass, and the person seems to walk past the driveway, and on down the road. I shook off the paranoia. When I left, I got the same being watched feeling, but I'm putting that down to nerves. Now 2 days ago, I'm leaving her house, get to the bottom of the porch and sit down to tie my shoe, and I hear splashing, big, clear splashing, like someone rushing across the creek. The creek splits in two around this small, thickly wooded island, and is about as wide as a one-lane road on each side, but very, very shallow. It at the bottom of a bare slope, and this entire thing is at least 50 yards from the house. It sounded like this guy was sprinting flat out, and I booked it the fuck out of there. He followed me all the way, from what sounded like the side of the road. I'm scared out of my fucking head, and looking back every few steps, and I hear the fuck, but can't see anyone near me. I'm walking in the middle of the road, not one car comes, and I hear his feet hit the pavement, when it was just gravel crunching and rustling on the side of the road before. Fuck. I break into full run past the parking lot to the only streetlight in the area at an intersection, and just glimpse this fucking man in a black hoodie disappear into the trees on the other side of the road. I called my buddy, who should have been waiting for me. I stand there in the street talking to him and listening to this stomping and rustling around me. I don't see him cross the road, but I swear to God, it sounded like he was right there. Every few minutes there was another stomp and rustle and twigs snap from another direction. It wasn't a wild animal, it wasn't a mugger, it was someone trying to fuck with me, or else I would have seen them or heard them the whole time or been directly attacked. I spent a good 10 minutes terrified and babbling about it to my friend before he got there, and I swear to God, we both saw the guy come out of the trees and wave at me when we turned around to go home. I still don't know who this guy is or why this is happening, but I am scared out of my mind for my girlfriend's safety, and I don't know what to do. Chase through a forest preserve at night. I've debated posting this for a while now, mainly because I'm not a writer. It is a long story. Apologies in advance for the length, and I don't want to mess it up in the telling. This happened to be my friend Sam 3 winters ago. We liked exploring nature and walking around outside, and our friends had recently introduced us to this beautiful place in Wisconsin, Grant Park, for anyone familiar with southeastern Wisconsin parks, that we had visited with them 3 or 4 times. Every time we had gone with them, it had been a pleasant trip. We walked around, got to see some beautiful views of Lake Michigan, sat in crooks of trees, and talked about books and games and other things. We had been starting the new game of Hunter the Darkness, a tabletop RPG game like Dungeons & Dragons, and we were using the park for scenic inspirations. It was great. For the purpose of storytelling, she and I are both 5'2" and 5'3", female. The first time she and I went alone, we went around dusk to take some pictures that we could Photoshop for the game. This park is massive, and there are many bridges, footpaths, and winding roads throughout. We were walking over a bridge that sat against one of the roads, with dense woods on either side. As we were crossing, a car drives by and rolls down the window, and some guy leans out and yells, "Hey!" at us. We both startle and jump, but dismiss them and continue walking across the bridge. Less than a minute later, the same car comes back driving the other direction, and this time, the driver's side window rolls down, and the driver, another male, calls out, "Hey ladies, come here." We pick up our pace, the car drives away, and right as we're about to hit the end of the bridge, we see the car come at us again from the original direction. We then book it up into the trees up the hill, and we hear the car stop, and the 2 men start yelling for us. We continued running and hid in the dark for 15 or so minutes until they left, and we ran back to our car and left. You would think we would avoid the park after that, but once we had gotten out of there and properly warmed over a hot chocolate from Perkins, we had a good laugh over having been so scared at all. We went back to the park with our male friends a few times, and nothing even remotely scary had happened. So she and I decided to go back, just the 2 of us again. Sam and I often spent our afternoons and early evenings exploring the outside, hiking, geocaching, just sitting outside in parks and talking. so we had just decided to add it to our repertoire. We headed back at around dusk again, and with a camera to take more pictures this time, especially since we hadn't gotten the shots we had wanted the first time. Now, obviously, looking back on this, we both feel incredibly foolish having gone back alone and around the same time and at the same friggin' place. But as I had said, we had gone a few more times with our male friends, and even when we had just one male with us, nothing had happened, so we thought we were just being skittish. Anyways, we went back, and were about to walk over the same bridge when a car rolls by and, as you guessed, the window rolls down and some guy just yells out some random noise. This time, we don't wait for them to drive around. We duck into the woods and start walking back towards the pier. We figured we'd abandon the other photo spot and just explore the pier, take some lake shots, you know. Not really what we were looking for, but we figured if we made it in time for the sunset, which is almost all the way down, we could take some nice pictures over the lake just for fun. The way that the pier is set up is that there's a long, thin road from the top of a giant grass hill down and around a curve and into the parking lot. The pier is at the end of the right side of the parking lot, about 200 yards away. If you walk from near the pier down the right side of the parking lot, there was a little bridge that led into a development with a tennis court that sat next to the preserve. So we began walking down the road to the lake when the same car from before drives down into the parking lot by the pier. They didn't say anything as they drove past, but we still decided to slow down and decide whether or not we wanted to continue down on this path. The car turned around in the parking lot and came back up the road. The car reached where we were and stopped. So we immediately turned and started walking down the hill. All the windows rolled down, and we saw that there were 4 guys and 1 girl in the car. They yelled, "Hello!" and Sam and I turned and waved. One of them then said, "Oh, hey, you're cute," and the others joined in. "Hey, yeah, wait for us." Now, mind you, we were 2 small females, but we were also super bundled up in large winter coats and hats. You could barely see any of our faces and our shapes, so they didn't really have a lot to base it on. We've been ignoring them, and we hear someone yell, "We're coming back for you," as they start driving up the hill. Sam and I decide not to take any chances and start running down the hill. We hear hooting and hollering, and we see them disappear over the top of the hill. We start running towards the bridge it was closest, and once you've gone over the bridge to the left, there was a concrete deck with a drop-off to a ramp about 5 feet tall, so that if you got off the bridge and jumped down right away, you'd be at the bottom of the ramp and couldn't be seen from the other side if you ducked down, which is exactly what we did. We hear the car speed back down the hill, and 4 doors open and close as they all start screaming and all start laughing. "Come here, girls, we'll be nice. We just want to play." Most of them took off to the pier, but 2 of them stayed behind, and we could make our bits and pieces of what they were saying. "Where do you think they went?" "I don't know. We'll find them," etc., 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 etc. Sam and I are huddled and freaked out, and once it has been silent near the bridge for a while. We decide to peek out to see if the other 2 have also left as well, so that we could sneak back up the hill, or make a break for it to somewhere else. We peek over, and there's a guy on the other end of the bridge, and he clearly sees us. "Over there!" He screams to his buddies and starts running across the bridge over to us. We take off towards the development, running around the side of the tennis court while being chased by 3 of the guys. One of them is very close to us, about 30 feet, but the rest were catching up faster than we would have liked. Eventually, we took a quick turn between 2 houses in the subdivision, and we luckily never saw them from that point on. We got back to our car by walking through the forest preserve, incredibly slowly, dashing across the road, terrified, out of our mind. We left that night and called our friends we normally went to the preserve when, from then on out, they insisted on accompanying us anytime we ever went there. So, creepy people in cars at the forest preserve, let's not meet.